Hey guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast. And right now it's just me. I'm here to do your College SportsCast, the weekend wrap up show for week 12.
We executed.
I heard a fan offer free Dippin' Dots if I blew it.
Wanted to have some fun, execute.
I had bombs.
Stay as a team, execute, give 100%.
Dippin' Dots sound good.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College Sportscast. I'm here to do the week 12 weekend wrap up show. We've got some college football talk, we got some college basketball talk. There is a lot going on in the college sports world. So we're going to get to that. But first, I do want to mention that we are affiliated now with Home Field Apparel. And I have one of my brand new shirts on. I'm going to stand up so you guys can see this. This is Kentucky. This is Untouchables, 1996 national champs. 34-2, 16-0 in the SEC. This is one of Kentucky's better, most famous teams. This is homefieldapparel.com. Right now, you can follow me on Twitter at BradCSCast, and you can find a link where you can get a Black Friday special for 20% off. So follow me on Twitter for those links right now. And the sale goes through November 26th for a Black Friday special. And this is all at homefieldapparel.com. If you use our link and follow that, and he's got on one of his Auburn shirts as well. If you use our link, we'll get a little credit and get a little something too. But that code, you can follow us at Brad CSCast, and I do have some posts on there about the Black Friday code, and you can get 20% off. These shirts right here would be around $28, I think, with 20% off. So you get a pretty good special right now with these. There's over 180 teams. They have cool retro designs and mascots and logos and all kinds of real cool stuff. So check them out. John might have a little something to say about home field as well. So
yeah, so the shirt that I've got on is an Auburn baseball design back in the 80s. I believe there's a picture if you go look up Auburn 80s baseball or something like that, you'll see Bo Jackson wearing a shirt that's very similar to this right here. Difference is the Auburn jersey would have had orange and white around the collar, orange and white around the sleeve. That's it. Other than that, it's this design right here with the Auburn written the way that it is across the chest in this powder blue shirt. This would have been away jersey, I believe, for Auburn back in the 80s. But every design has a story. They do have those listed up there. I believe you still have one of my shirts, and it's the Auburn basketball shirt, the peacock shirt, and that is
I do. It came in,
and there is a story for that as well, and it's all on the website. They do have a story for every design, a reason why they do the different designs the way that they do them. So homefieldapparel.com, and they do have an app for iOS and I believe Android as well. So yep.
Cool. All right, guys. We're going to kind of dig in. I'm going to start out with the college football scoreboard today and start out with that. I've got it pulled up already, so I'm going to start out with that. We can kind of run through all the games and talk about some of them as we go. So I'm going to start with that. The week again started on Tuesday. This past week, we had Toledo beat Bowling Green 32-31. Northern Illinois beat Western Michigan 24-0. Eastern Michigan beat Akron 30-27 in a double overtime. On Wednesday, we had Ohio beating Central Michigan 34-20. Miami of Ohio 23-10 over Buffalo. Thursday night, we had Pitt over Boston College 24-16. Friday night, this past week, we had UTSA 49, South Florida 21, and Washington State beat Colorado 56-14 on Friday night as well. Not a good showing by Colorado at all. I think they did have a player or two out. I'm not sure if Shadur played or not. Do you know if he played in that one?
Give me just a second. I've been kind of trying to get everything put together here.
But I could be wrong in that. And that might be part of the reason the score looks the way it is. He had been injured a little bit, and I was thinking he was going to be out this past week.
Right.
And that might be why the score is 56-14 to Washington State. All right, so that leads us up to Saturday's games, yesterday's games, and I am going to start out with the Michigan-Maryland game. It was in Maryland. I think J.J. McCarthy got hurt in this game, was out for a while, but they did come back and win 31-24. 24 points was quite a bit of points for this Michigan team to give up, especially to this Maryland team who has actually kind of been struggling the last 4 or 5 weeks. But they did survive only by a touchdown. They were favored 19. We all picked Michigan in this game in our game day pick'ems the other day, and they did not cover in this game. So,
nope, they did not. That was one that we were picking to cover, and that was a big point spread. It looks like that Shadur Sanders played some, but did not play the entire game. He was only 6 for 10 for 86 yards and 1 touchdown. Ryan Staub was 5 for 14 for 56 yards, and then Gavin Cold was 1 for 3 for 22
maybe he did
yards.
play a little bit, but I don't think he played the entire game. I had seen where he may not play at all, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so there's 3 quarterbacks or three players that recorded passes. I would say that they were all quarterbacks because the third guy had 3 attempts. So that
right, yeah,
yep. So
all right, so Alabama clobbered UT Chattanooga 66-10. They're looking really good. This UT Chattanooga team is one of the better teams in their division down there. You know, they're in the FCS, and with Furman, and they are one of the better teams down there. Louisville had to survive against Miami 38-31, and I say survive. There was a Hail Mary that was caught, and he did try to turn and get up the field and was caught at the 5-yard line to tie this game.
It got ricocheted about off of maybe 2 players or so. It looked like they were trying to bat it down, but it didn't quite go straight down.
Right,
and
it kind of went
right
instead of down. Yeah.
Right into the receiver's hands, and he was about around the 4 or 5. I think he spun out to the 5-yard line.
He spun
and
out
then tried to come back in.
I think he got to about the 5. I mean, somewhere
he was about
around
the 5 or 4, and he was down at that point.
Yeah,
it looked like they were going to catch him anyway once he caught it. So, yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know, there was a Hail Mary. It was caught. It just happened to be caught about the 6-yard line because they batted it back. And then he had to try to run it in, and he got caught after that. But that's how that game ended. Miami's now 6-5. Louisville is still only with the one loss, and that win actually propels them to the ACC championship game.
It did.
And it's the first time in school history that they have made the ACC championship game in football. So they are 10-1. Their only loss was to Pitt this year. They've had a couple of other close calls, but they have found a way to win and are in the ACC championship game. So Penn State beat Rutgers 27-6. Ole Miss beat UL Monroe 35-3. Oklahoma also kind of had to survive. This was the week of seemed like quarterbacks getting hurt, it seemed like. Dylan Gabriel went out in this game as well and beat BYU 31-24 at BYU. But they did survive. So they are, still with the two losses. They still have a shot to make – there's 3 teams tied to make the second, to make the Big 12 championship game. There's 3 teams that are like 6-2. Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State are the teams that are there. So they still have that shot. Tulane beat FAU 24-8. Army beat Coastal Carolina 28-21. Michigan State beat Indiana 24-21. Mississippi State 41, Southern Miss 20. Will Rogers came back and played in that game. Northwestern beat Purdue at home 23-15. This is significant because Northwestern is now bowl eligible. That is their 6th win. They only had 1 win last year. Fired their coach, but right before the season with a scandal, and Pat Fitzgerald got fired, and they have an interim coach. So with all the turmoil that they have going on, you have to give a little bit of props to Northwestern and this interim coach for getting them to 6 wins. Don't you think, John?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because that one was that was one that you didn't really know what was about to happen in that for that team, just because of all the stuff that was going down before the season started, and then even right at the beginning of the season when they were just losing all those games. So
there's lawsuits going on all season long. There's lawsuits, back between the school and the coach. And I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on at Northwestern. And for this coach to get this team playing and gelling and getting to 6 wins is a pretty big deal, if you ask me.
It is.
Yeah. So, some props to them for that. Texas A&M beat Abilene Christian 38-10. UConn beat Sacred Heart 31-3. Navy beat East Carolina 10-0. SMU beat Memphis 38-34. That's a little bit significant as well, just because both of these teams are pretty good teams. Memphis was 8-2, and so was SMU before this game. So SMU is 9-2 on the year. Memphis is 8-3 now. Just to give you a little bit of info on those two. Liberty stayed undefeated 49-25 over UMass. Jacksonville State 56, La Tech 17. MTSU beat UTEP 34-30. Rice beat Charlotte 28-7. App State beat James Madison in an overtime 26-23. James Madison has been ranked the last couple of weeks and was still undefeated. And that was their first loss of the season for James Madison. Let's see. Ball State beat Kent State 34-20. 3. Wyoming beat Hawaii 42-9. Arizona handled Utah at home 42-18. West Virginia beat Cincinnati at home 42-21. I want to pause here at West Virginia, just like I did at Northwestern. There was a lot of talk since last year, really, that Neil Brown should be fired. And he come into this year with very, very, very low expectations. They actually had him picked dead last in the preseason in the Big 12. And they are setting at 7-4 and have a chance to win this coming week and have an 8-4 season. And I think they have a pretty good chance to do that. They play Baylor. Baylor's not that good. So I think they have a pretty good chance of going 8-4. And I think that's a great job by Neil Brown. I just want to pause on that one and say that I think he's done a great job this season. And they lost a Houston game that they shouldn't have lost, to be honest with you, on top of that. Virginia beat Duke 30-27. North Texas beat Tulsa 35-28. UAB won a game, beat Temple 34-24.
Yep, they did. It was
and this score surprised me. Arkansas State scored 77 on Texas State and beat Texas State 77-31. There was over almost 110 points scored in this game. A football game, guys. That's a lot of points. Colorado State beat Nevada 30-20. Georgia handled their business in Knoxville 38-10. That is Georgia. They tied the record for consecutive wins, by the way. That is 28 consecutive wins that they have, and that actually tied the record. Iowa beat Illinois 15-13. They are 9-2 and in the Big Ten championship as well. Just so you know, Iowa is. Notre Dame beat Wake Forest 45-7. The story in this game is Sam Hartman, who played 4 years at Wake Forest, went in and now beat his former team 45-7. Clemson beat North Carolina 31-20. Clemson seems to have found a little mojo here at the end of the season. They were 4-4. That's their third straight win. Beat a ranked team. Western beat Sam Houston. Western Kentucky beat Sam Houston 28-23. UCLA handled USC at USC 38-20. They are 7-5, guys. USC is 7-5 on the season. Coming in with their expectations, very, very poor season for Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams this year at 7-5 with their expectations. NC State beat Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech 35-28. I actually think that NC State should now be ranked. They're sitting at 8-3, guys. I think they're 5-2, 6-2. They're third in the ACC.
They're 5-2. They're 5-2 in the ACC. Yes,
in the ACC, but they're sitting in the third position in the ACC. I actually think they should be ranked this week. We'll get to that in the rankings here in a little bit. But TCU beat Baylor 42-17. Troy beat Louisiana 31-24. UNLV had a very, very nice win at Air Force 31-27. This is another Barry Odom thing that I talked about kind of last week with you guys. They are 9-2, and Air Force has lost 3 in a row. They were 8-0. Now they're 8-3. Ohio State handled Minnesota at home 37-3. Oregon really put a beat down on Arizona State at Arizona State 49-13. Bo Nix had 6 touchdowns, I believe, in this game. If
I think so.
Remember, I'm pretty sure he had 6 touchdowns, picked them apart. And like I've been saying for the last few weeks, we'll get to a little bit more on Bo Nix with this game. Oklahoma State beat Houston 43-30 at Houston. Auburn. What happened to Auburn? Auburn loses at home to New Mexico State 31-10.
Yep.
At Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say this, John. I read that this is the first home loss for Auburn against a non-power conference team since 1950.
Was it since 1950?
That's what I read. And I don't know.
I don't know. I thought there was one in 1991. I don't know if that may be wrong. I don't know. Maybe in 91, but either way, it doesn't matter. It's a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I read. I don't know if it's true. I thought I'd ask you, to be honest. Texas Tech beat UCF 24-23. South Alabama beat Marshall 28-0. Marshall's had a decent season. That's kind of surprising score. Old Dominion beat Georgia Southern 20-17. Florida State beat North Alabama 58-13. But that's not the story of this game. The story of this game is Jordan Travis went out with a major leg injury and got carted off, went to the hospital. I have not heard any major updates on Jordan Travis, but it did not look good. What have you heard anything, John?
Other than he ain't coming back. I mean, that's about it. Because
is he not coming back?
Well, why would he? He's hurt. He's out for the season. And there's only one more game, so he's not going to. I mean,
I have not heard how bad the injury was.
The injury was bad. The injury is bad. When they're telling you not to when they're telling you not to look on the broadcast, when they show the replay, yeah, it's bad. So yeah,
I heard it looked really bad. I mean, but I haven't seen anything. So yeah. I was working yesterday, so. But that is a very, very significant loss. I mean, they have been in the 4th spot basically all year since they beat LSU. Have a really good chance of making the college football playoff, and then they lose their quarterback.
Here's the deal. They're going to play Florida. Both teams are going to be playing with their backup. So,
yeah.
But both teams will be playing with their backup quarterback. And the Florida State looks like they have a better roster than Florida right now. So you just got to think that if, as long as the backup quarterback for Florida State doesn't, commit any significant, turnovers or just errors, then Florida State will have a week with him as the starting quarterback in the, win a game, then go into the ACC championship game against Louisville again.
Yeah.
Playing in that one, and just got to manage the game. Just got to manage. That's really it. And I mean, I don't think that this guy's much of a I don't think he's a bum. I don't think Florida State's going to have just a really bad backup. So the guy is
no, I don't either. I'm just saying
going to get 2 weeks. Going to get 2 weeks of reps of first team reps, and then once that game is over,
it's just an unfortunate blow.
Oh, it is.
Florida State is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what I meant by that. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they don't have a terribly tough schedule. I mean, Florida and
It's 2
Louisville, I
games.
think, are
That's it.
both manageable games. Yeah, but it's very, very unfortunate. I hate that for the kid. I mean, Jordan Travis has worked his butt off to get them here, and also hate that for the team as well. I would like to see them full healthy and see what happens, but we are not going to get that. So we'll see what happens from here on out with Florida State. But California beat Stanford 27-15. Kansas State made a comeback, was down 11 in this game, I think, and beat Kansas at home 31-27. They are another one of these teams that I was talking about is tied for second in the Big 12 and have a shot to be in the Big 12 championship game. Boise State 45, Utah State 10. Washington beats Oregon State in Corvallis 22-20.
Yeah, and that one right there was, I believe, a safety that was the difference, right?
Yeah, and it's a tough place to play. We talked about it in the game day pick'ems. I mean, it's a tough place to play. It really, really is. It's a big win for them. I mean, Washington has now won against 3 top 15 teams in the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
Top 20 teams in the last 3 weeks.
Right.
And I believe 2 of them are on the road. If I'm not mistaken,
they won at, as far as top 15, so at Oregon State, and then the Oregon game, where was that one?
The Oregon game was at Washington. I do remember that. But
I don't remember who the other one was.
UCLA was on the road, I believe, and I think UCLA was ranked. They were probably in the top 20.
Right. I was like, I don't know if they. I was trying to think about, or maybe no, Utah was at Washington, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because y'all were picking Utah, or y'all were picking Washington because of the fact that it was at Washington. I was picking Utah just for the sheer fact that it was.
It was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yep. I do remember that one.
Missouri had to survive with a last-second field goal at home to beat Florida, 33-31.
And then they put a second back on the clock.
But they won the game. This time of year, that's all that really matters. They're inside the top 10, and they are clearly in second place in the SEC East. And, I mean, they have been one of the better teams in the SEC this year, and maybe the best story, maybe. In the SEC
as long as they cap out the regular season with the victory on Saturday, then they should be. I mean, they're going to go to a BCS bowl. I mean, a BCS, but they're going to go to a New Year's Six bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'll be one of the top ranked. They'll be one of the top ranked SEC teams, and then depending on if SEC sends 1 or 2, the other one will also go to a New Year's Six bowl as well. They
definitely. I mean, outside of Georgia and Alabama, I think they're the they're the best stories in the SEC this year.
Right.
I would put them above LSU. I know LSU beat them, but LSU has 3 losses and Missouri has 2.
Correct.
So Arkansas beat FIU 44-20. That's only their 4th win of the year. And I've seen this morning out of Arkansas, out of Fayetteville, they're saying that Sam Pittman's going to be back next year, which was a little surprising.
It was. That is surprising.
I mean, I didn't confirm it, but this was reported from reporters out of Fayetteville.
Right.
Kentucky loses to South Carolina 17-14. looked absolutely atrocious on offense last night. I thought they played fairly decent on defense. But, God, I'm just going to move on. They're sickening, to be quite honest with you. Wisconsin beat Nebraska 24-17. Texas handled Iowa State at Ames 26-16. LSU beat the fire out of Georgia State 56-14. Jaden Daniels accounted for 8 TDs in this game, from the way I understand.
Yes, he threw for 6 and he ran for 2. Yes. He threw for
408 TDs
and over 500 yards of offense. He had about 413 yards passing, 6 touchdowns, and then had about, I believe, 96 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns.
In the last 2 games, he's accounted for over 1,100 yards by himself.
Correct.
And how many touchdowns?
Oh, well,
14?
That would be
14, something like that.
15. I thought he had 7 last week. Was it?
Did he have 7 the other day?
I can't remember.
Week? Was it 6 or 7?
Yeah. Either way, it's ridiculous. He's throwing up ridiculous numbers.
It's unbelievable numbers, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable numbers. So, Kevron Harris is with us. He says, "Go Tigers." I'm not sure if he's talking about Missouri or if he's talking about LSU, because I was just talking about both. So, I'm not sure.
I assume he's going LSU. Most recent.
Okay.
Season.
Yeah. Georgia Tech beat Syracuse 31-22. New Mexico beat Fresno State 25-17. And San Jose State beat San Diego State 24-13. And guys, that wraps up college football scoreboard. That is the full week 12 college football scoreboard. So we're going to get into the AP poll. We always do take a look at the AP poll here at College SportsCast, the weekend wrap-up show. There is a little bit of movement this week. So I'm going to kind of dig into that a little bit. Of course, Georgia remains number 1. That's not a big surprise. This is their 23rd straight week being number 1 in the AP poll. And that is good for second best streak ever in the history of the AP poll in college football. They are 10 behind the streak held by USC, who did 33 straight weeks in the Reggie Bush era, 2003 to 2005. All right. The first change in the poll is at number 2. They jumped Ohio State over Michigan State. Michigan State. I said that last week. They jumped.
Did.
Oh, I said that same stuff last week. Ohio State over Michigan in the poll. Ohio State is now number 2 and Michigan is number 3. I found that a little bit interesting. Does that have to do with the stuff that's going on with Harbaugh and Michigan? The scandal?
Sure. I mean, they're really that, and the fact that, Michigan looked like they struggled a little bit during the game.
But there
so
was one game.
I think everybody wants an excuse to drop them. So that was an excuse to drop them.
Yeah.
So
and then the next movement, Washington jumps Florida State at the 4 spot. And
I think that's actually, I think that one's more of that's more legit, because Washington's beaten a lot better opponents.
It would happen last week, to be honest.
I mean, it should have been like this for a while, but Washington's beaten more teams than Florida State has. Florida State, the deal about Florida State is they've got one win against a team that has now lost 3 games. Now they look good when they're on, and that's LSU, right? So they've
Yeah.
lost 3 games, 2 within the SEC, and then the one to Florida State. Clemson looks a lot better now than what they did when they played them. So that's good for Florida State, but at the time looked really bad. It was
I mean,
early
they're
in the
still
season.
7-4 and unranked. So
Right.
Clemson.
So correct. But they were, what, 4-4 or 3-4
Yeah,
or
they were
somewhere in that
4-4.
neighborhood at the time when Florida State played them. But since then, Clemson has reeled off a few wins, 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
So that one, it makes sense.
I think
It
that
just
would
makes
make sense
that
as well.
right.
6, 7, and 8. Actually, 6, 7,
And
8,
9.
9, and 10.
No,
I
10
think.
10 10 10 10 was movement. Missouri went up 1 from 11 to
Okay.
10 in
Well,
the
6,
in
7,
the
8, and 9 then remain the same. And
right.
that's Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Louisville. And 10 now is Missouri.
Right, because what it was in the AP poll, Oregon State was number 10, and they dropped
Okay.
5 spots after
Yeah.
losing
Right.
to Washington. So
Okay. So Missouri is at the number 10 spot in the top 10. You have Penn State 11. Ole Miss is 12. Oklahoma was 13. LSU is 14. Oregon State dropped to 15 then.
right.
Arizona.
Yep.
Arizona moves in. This is their first time in the poll this year, and they moved all the way up to 16 after their big win this week, beating Utah 42 to 16, and they moved or 42 to 18, and they moved to the 16th spot.
Right.
They've had a really good season. They're sitting in 3rd in the Pac-12. Notre Dame is 17. Tulane is 18. Kansas State is 19. Iowa is 20. Oklahoma State is 21. Liberty is 22. Toledo comes in the poll. I don't think they were in the poll. They were 20. They're 23.
No,
James
they
Madison.
were at 23 last week. They have no movement in the AP poll.
Oh,
So Toledo was there
really?
last week.
James Madison stays in despite their loss.
Right.
At number 24. And somehow Tennessee stays in the poll at 7-4. And this is where I said I think NC State should be in the poll.
Right.
Quite honestly, I feel like Tennessee should drop out. They scored 7 points last week against Missouri. They scored 10 this week against Georgia and got trounced in both games.
Right.
And somehow stayed in the poll at 7-4. And NC State is 8-3 and in 3rd place in the ACC.
Yeah, essentially NC State is number 27. Utah is the number 1 team. Others receiving votes. They fell out of the poll after their loss this week, and NC State has not yet climbed back into it after this week. But North Carolina dropped out, and like I said, Utah dropped. But in the poll, James Madison dropped 6. Tennessee dropped 4 spots. That's what allowed everybody else to really move up in the poll this week with their wins.
Yeah. Utah drops out of the poll for the first time in 33 straight AP poll appearances, by the way. This is the first time that Utah has not been in the poll in 33 weeks or 34 weeks because they had 33 straight. It was the 5th longest active streak in the country, behind only Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan.
Yeah.
The Utah AP poll streak. Yep. So that is a look at the actual poll, there are 6 SEC teams, 4 Pac-12, 4 Big 12, 4 Big 10, 2 ACC, 1 American, 1 Conference USA, 1 Sun Belt, and 1 Mid-American. So there are 4 Group of 5 teams in the AP poll this week. Independent, of course, is Notre Dame. All right. So let's dig into the college football playoff landscape. I know we like to kind of talk about this each week. We had some scenarios last week and had a little fun with this last week. Me and you did. So seeing what we've seen this past week and Washington jumping Florida State in the AP poll, do you expect the same in the college football playoff poll? Because Florida State has stayed at the 4 spot.
Yes, I mean, I would expect that Florida, that Washington jumps in over Florida State, and you may still see I mean, the top 3 I think are the same, right? With the CFP, it is Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. That's what they had.
Yeah, that's what they had this past week. Yeah,
right. And then they had Florida State at number 4. So I think that I think that this is what you'll see as the top 4 teams, and you should see this as the top 6, with Oregon being Oregon should be number 6, Florida State should be number 5. So you should see this. This should be the order for the CFP.
Do you think that'll be the only movement in the top 8? Maybe Washington jumping Florida State. That's what I think. I think it'll be the same.
Yeah, maybe, I think that's going to be the same. I think in the top 8, because I don't see them moving Alabama ahead of Texas.
I don't either.
Not right now. And I think I don't necessarily think it's dumb, but I think that it's because I've gone back and looked with teams that had head-to-head that they were dealing with, that they are inconsistent with this particular thing that they've talked about. They have consistently talked about head-to-head, and that's the reason why Alabama's not ahead of Texas. But at one point in time, Texas had a loss against Oklahoma. Both were 1-loss teams at the time, and Oklahoma was about 2 or 3 spots behind Texas.
Last year, at the end of the season, both Bama and Tennessee had 2 losses, and Bama wound up 5th, and Tennessee wound up like 8 or 9. And
right. This is a different group of people.
I was very, very livid and adamant that Tennessee should be ahead of Alabama last year.
Correct, but this is a different group of people. So, like, this group of people, this iteration of the CFP committee has been adamant with a head-to-head, and
I actually think they have
been very inconsistent.
I think the head-to-head actually should mean something. If not, then why would these teams schedule games like that out of conference? Why would you have teams schedule games if they're not going to matter?
Well, I mean, I get that, but then I also would look at the strength of schedule as well, like the FPI and the.
But to me, the head-to-head has to be number 1. Has to be.
I mean, it has to factor.
If
but
not,
you also have to.
Then there's no reason to schedule those games.
But you also have to figure out too, because again, you're not allowing for teams to improve. So they played head-to-head week 2. Alabama was a horse crap team in week 2. All right. Texas.
That makes every game matter, John.
Texas has not looked well in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Alabama has looked very, very good in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not really advocating that Alabama should be above. I'm just saying that they don't.
I'm not here and act like that Alabama hasn't improved throughout the season and that they look much, 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 much better. They
Right.
have.
Do you think that if Alabama plays Texas right now, that Alabama wins?
Probably. I would probably pick Alabama, yes, if they were playing head to head right now.
Do you think if Texas plays Oklahoma, Texas wins?
I don't know. We might find out. Well, no. See, Oklahoma's behind the 8 ball because they lost to Kansas State and Oklahoma State, right?
But what I'm saying is that these are teams that they lost to, right?
Mm.
But they lost to them earlier in the season, and that these teams improved or didn't.
I just
And
like
then-
it, to me, college football is very few games throughout the season. And I like the fact in college football that every game matters.
Okay, so
And to
Oregon
me,
and Oregon.
if you're not going to have them, the head-to-head be the number one thing, then there's no reason to schedule those out-of-conference games.
Oregon or
Because
Oregon State,
in the
or
SEC,
Oregon and,
in the
and
SEC,
Washington are going to play each other.
your SEC schedule is going to give you a very tough schedule alone that you're not going to need the out-of-conference schedule to have a strength of schedule, a good strength of schedule. You're not going to.
That's what I'm. That's my point with the whole thing. Alabama's strength of schedule should be a lot better than Texas's strength of schedule. You made my point. Thank you. Awesome.
No,
you absolutely made my point. Yeah, you did.
I was using that. Why would you schedule a Texas out-of-conference game if you can count on your strength of schedule in the SEC? Why would you do that if the head-to-head don't matter?
Auburn, 2004.
I just, to me, it's got to be that way.
Schedule was not schedule outside of the non-conference was absolutely horrendous, and they got penalized for it.
But that was three systems ago. It will be next year. I mean,
yes,
we got
but
12 teams.
But you're asking a question, and I'm giving you an answer.
We got the BCS. I mean, that was 3 systems ago.
And each one of those, I can probably go back and find the reason why somebody got in there versus somebody else not with a strength of schedule.
All right. I still say it's basically those 8 teams.
Yeah, but it's not going to be those.
I don't think Missouri.
It's 6 teams. Let's just be honest. There's 6 teams, and that's it.
So you don't think
7? Sorry, 7.
You don't think Texas and Alabama has a shot?
No, Texas does. Alabama
got a shot if they can beat Georgia.
Yeah, they have to beat Georgia.
If they can beat Georgia, they have a shot.
Yeah, well, nobody's done it yet.
If they beat Georgia, they will get in, if you ask me. They will jump those few teams.
Okay, Oregon over Washington. What happens there?
Okay, so if you're asking me if
Oregon over
both
Washington.
Oregon beats Washington and Bama beats Georgia, if it both happens, I think they'll put Bama in over Oregon. If there is a choice to make and only one gets a spot at 4.
Okay, so the other 2 are winner of Ohio State, Michigan, because they're most likely going to win their conference.
Yeah.
So that's 1. And then are you saying Florida State or are you saying Texas? Undefeated Florida State versus 1-loss Texas.
I think undefeated Florida State probably gets that spot if they're still undefeated.
Really?
And if you ask me, if Georgia gets beat, they're still going to be in it. They're going to find a spot at 3 or 4. So then that means that you would have Oregon and Alabama, who have both won, and only one would get a spot, in my opinion.
All right, so FPI and the FPI, Alabama's FPI is just ahead of Oregon's. Texas is just ahead of Florida State currently. Ohio State has the number 1 FPI. Michigan's number 2, Georgia number 3, Alabama, Oregon, Penn State, Oklahoma, Texas, Florida State, LSU, Notre Dame.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a few scenarios.
By the way, Washington is 2 more down from that.
Which doesn't make any sense at all. If you ask me.
That puts Washington FPI is at 13.
That's crazy.
So the top 4 teams
they have better wins. They played better. They played more ranked opponents and stuff. I mean, how in the world are they down there being 11-0? That doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean,
that don't make any sense. Penn State's got 2 losses. How the hell are they ahead of Washington?
Their 2 losses are to the number 1 and number 2 teams in the FPI.
Yeah, but the Big Ten's outside of those 2 teams, they played nobody.
Yeah, well, I guess you have really good losses. Losses count for you.
I guess. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. All right. I want to get into some college basketball just real quick and do a little bit of a scoreboard rundown. UConn and Indiana were playing as we kind of come on today. And I don't know how that game has finished. But Texas and Louisville is playing right now. Texas is ranked 19th. Louisville's actually ahead 45-44 in the second half, 17 minutes to go. I mean, they are competing at least. Wyoming beat Furman in the Myrtle Beach Invitational 78-71. There's a lot of Feast Week tournaments going on right now. Providence beat Georgia in the Baja Mar Hoops Challenge in the championship game to win that. UConn beat Indiana in the 77-57 today, actually. That's a pretty significant win for UConn. But there's a lot of holiday tournaments going on right now in college basketball. It's a pretty fun time if you're a college basketball fan. Friday, John and I, on Thursday, we picked some games. I think we either went 4-2 or 5-1 in those games on our pick'ems for game day pick'ems that we did on Thursday. We picked 6 games.
How'd you do football wise?
I think you and John tied again at 6-3. No. John was 6-3, and me and you were 5-4 football.
Are you
and
sure?
I have not.
What was my 4th one? I don't have the 4th one written down.
So your picks was Louisville.
Yep. I had Louisville,
Michigan.
Arizona, Georgia, Clemson.
Louisville, Arizona, Georgia, Clemson, Kansas,
Kansas to cover. Yep. Which hit.
Oregon State,
which lost.
Iowa State,
which lost. As far as covering,
Michigan,
they didn't cover.
Right, Michigan and Missouri.
What was the spread on that one? I guess
Missouri was 11. The spread was 11.
Yeah, there you go. Missouri. Okay.
Yeah. Now I haven't went back and looked at our upset and lock picks, so I don't know those yet. But I did.
Oh no, mine were my upset and my lock were they did not hit. So again, I went 0-2 on those.
My upset did. I picked Northwestern at home over Purdue, who was a 3-point favorite.
Again, and I made fun of you for picking something that was 3 points.
I mean, but you don't get it. Like that's what I'm trying to pick something that's actually going to hit. That's what I'm trying to do.
No, you're picking something like, okay, then, we could have picked Miami over Louisville and it was a 1 point difference. I think that's dumb. I think there needs to be a parameter.
Most of these games,
there needs to be parameters.
Most of these games that we've been picking are within 3 or 4 points. I mean, a lot of them this year.
That's why I intentionally went and looked at something that was bigger than that.
But I mean, that's what we're trying to do is pick something that's actually going to hit. That's why it's called a lock.
No, the upset. I'm talking about the upset. The lock is something different. I'm talking about the upset.
Well,
the upset is you got to pick one that has. We got to have parameters on what the point spread can be.
I think 3 is the parameter. If you ask me, 3 is the parameter.
3 is home field. The difference between home field advantage and not.
Yeah, but most of these games are within 3 or 4 points. These bigger games. So 3 is a pretty healthy pick, if you ask me.
I think you got to be a touchdown.
Nah, that's way too much.
That's what makes the game fun. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, but then our stats is going to be awful. Always. I'm trying to have something where people can follow us and be like, okay, we want to follow them because they're doing a good job with this, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, so you want a stat pad? That's what it is. It's all play the lettuce.
I'm not trying to pick 7 or 10 points and us be 1 for 27 for the year. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I think our picks during our regular picks are fine. I think the locks and the upsets have to have. Oh no, it's not ridiculous. I think they have to have some panache, little gamesmanship here. We can't sit here and just go. I think a 1 point favorite is going to lose.
We'll be lucky if we have a record of 4-20 at the end of the year or whatever. What you're talking about, I just don't think that's a good look. If you ask me.
We're picking locks and we have parameters. Put the parameters up there, and then there you go.
All right, let's have a little bit of fun and get to our good, the bad, and the ugly of Week 12. We always have a little bit of fun of this, and you always have some good points on the good, the bad, the ugly, I think, each week. So let's start with the good for Week 12. And again, you can pick 2 or 3 different things if you want, but what's your good for Week 12?
Good Lord, there's quite a few of them that you could throw out there. I mean, obviously the different Heisman Trophy candidates, all 3 of them did really well. So you're talking about Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Jaden Daniels. Like all 3 of those guys were pretty awesome.
I think they're head and shoulders above the field, don't you?
Right, and Penix didn't really have a great day, but he didn't have a bad day either. He did lead his team to a victory, and made some clutch passes at the end of the game. He was also playing in weather, and they were playing in weather too.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that you're good. You're good. Is definitely, just again what those guys did. Again, week in and week out, what they've been doing. So, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Jaden Daniels, because they just absolutely so much better than everybody else. And I think it's just those three. Those three should be the only three that go to New York or wherever it is that they're going to do the
only
Heisman
one that
Trophy.
I thought maybe might make, the top would have been Harrison Jr.
Yeah, but I think at this point, it is going to be those three quarterbacks, because Harrison Jr. would have to be so far and above in his class and doing things just outrageous. And I mean, it's not that he's not, it's that these guys are doing so much more. And I think that there's just so much more.
He has a chance of winning it. I just thought he might have a chance of being in that fourth spot and getting.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get even enough of the vote to make it even close to want to bring him. I think the vote is just going to be between those three. I mean, he's going to have votes.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not going to have votes, but the three are going to have so many more votes than what he has, that he's not going to get invited. So it's going to be those three.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just thought, like I said, I thought a week or two ago that he might have an outside shot, but I don't think he does now.
Right.
I think that Alabama, the way that they have played the last 4 or 5 weeks, and the improvement that they have shown, and the way they keep using and revamp their whole offense around Jalen Milroe, and what they have done is really, really impressive, if you ask me.
Yep.
It's Alabama, and we all think of Alabama as this absolute just juggernaut all the time, but they really didn't start that way this year.
Right.
Like, they struggled the first 3 or 4 weeks, and they really did not start that way this year. And for them to make in-season adjustments the way that they did, and in their completely revamped their offense and everything, the way they did in season is pretty impressive to me. So I'm going to add them to the good.
Okay.
We'll find out when they go to Jordan-Hare next week just what the difference is going to be. Do you think y'all have a shot? It's in Jordan-Hare, and sometimes you do when you don't think you can.
Just depends on what they what the mindset going in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, sometimes when you don't think Auburn has a chance, that's when they surprise Alabama.
Well, it's an odd year, and the game's in Jordan-Hare, so that puts puts it in their favor.
Yeah. All right. What's the bad for week 12?
Well, I could go one of look the bad. There's going to be one team that could get the bad and the ugly for me, and
okay,
that's going to be Auburn.
You're going to give them both?
Do you know of anybody else that could get a different one? There are 20.
Who did you say it was?
Auburn.
Oh.
I mean, look, you're a 25-point favorite at home against
25.5 is what I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah. So 25.5-point favorite, and you lose by 21. That's pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. I have to say it was
that's
pretty
40
bad.
That's 46-point swing right there. So I think that's bad. And that's also ugly, because if you looked at the offense and defensive line, that looked ugly. They got dominated.
What was so bad about the game was they were basically manhandled on the offensive defensive line by New Mexico State.
Yes. Dominated.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they made all the plays. I mean, they made what is that? Look, Pavlovia or whatever his name is. They made him look like he was like Heisman because he was out there
Well, I worked
dodging
yesterday,
guys,
and
throwing.
I come in at the very end. There was like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game when I turned it on, and I was like, "You have got to be kidding me!" Like, there's no way that's real.
Oh, it was very real. Watch the whole game. It's bad.
I
And it's
mean,
ugly.
all right. Well, I'll give you that Auburn's game yesterday was the ugly. I'll give you that because it was ugly. Okay. I'll give you that one. But I'm going to put North Carolina as the bad. It seems like they do this every year with Mac Brown at the helm. They start out, they get close, they get to that 7 or 8 win mark, and then they seem to fall apart at the end. And they've done it again this year. And then I'm also putting Mark Stoops in Kentucky on the bad. I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but they are absolutely got some major issues to fix offensively. I'm going to tell you something. I put this on Facebook earlier. I've never watched a football game where when a team has the ball that you literally have to watch the play clock to see if they're actually going to get a snap off before a penalty. Every single time they line up. I've never watched a game like that. But when you watch Kentucky play, you literally have to watch the play clock. And I'm in the background last night hollering, snap the damn ball. Snap the damn ball. Like I don't understand it. It is the equivalent of this is on a basketball court. If the team just passed the ball around outside, didn't care, and don't put up a shot 20 times a game and just let the play clock, just let the shot clock just expire.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance
now
to.
You tell me, I don't understand it. Almost every play is that way. And it drives me insane. That is an epic failure for an offense, if you ask me. Epic. So there you go. I'm putting Kentucky on there, especially Kentucky's offense. They looked pathetic, mainly because of that.
Yeah.
But I will give you that Jordan Hare and Auburn and New Mexico State coming in and dominating them the way that they did, offensive, defensive line, and SEC team, I will give you a 46-47 swing spread difference is definitely ugly. Definitely. My question to you is this. Hugh Freeze, his first year, he did get you guys bowl eligible with a 6th win last week. But
correct.
How's Auburn fans feeling with
right now about half of them are ready to jump off a ledge. There's so many different there's so many different ones that are
now you're looking at facing Alabama, so you're looking at 6-6 straight in the face.
Yep.
And I know you're going to a bowl, but
probably in Birmingham.
Well, that's where Kentucky might be too. We're in the same spot, but I'm just saying Auburn fans are not used to being there at all. Not really. And
not as often as we've been in the last 4 years, 5 years.
I will say this though. Doesn't Freeze have a top 5 class right now for 2024? Committed?
They're up there. They're up there right now, but got to make sure that they all sign. We ain't got past first signing day.
Right. I mean,
There could be several of them that flip from committing to
Yeah.
Auburn because Auburn's had a history of people that have been committed but have been silent commits somewhere else. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into it till pen is paper or digital signature or whatever it is.
Right. Oh, I don't either. Kentucky has a top 20 class right now, right around 20. And, I don't, with what's going on, I have no idea. But if Freeze can land a top 5 class, then I would think that Auburn would still feel halfway decent with Freeze right now, knowing that the future may be different.
Right.
If they can get the signatures. All right. So week ahead, we'll finish up with a quick look ahead for the week 13 in college football. There are 2 ranked matchups next week. That's all there is 2 of them.
Ranked on ranked.
Oregon and ranked on ranked. Yes,
okay,
that's what I meant. Yeah, where they're both ranked on ranked. There are only 2 next week. Oregon and Oregon State is one of them. Oregon State's 15. Oregon is 6. That is at Oregon. It is the second consecutive times that both teams have been ranked. And then the other one, of course, is the big one this week, and that is Ohio State at number 3, Michigan.
Correct. Yeah. So this week is also the first week that we actually have a day where there is no football, whether it's NFL or college, and that is Wednesday. So we end our streak of, I believe, 48 days.
48?
I think it's 48 days straight of football, whether it's the NFL or college football, will end on Wednesday. Right. Thursday, you will have the Egg Bowl. That's always, even though those teams are not ranked, or you have Ole Miss that's ranked, but Mississippi State's not. It's always a bit of a kind of a cluster as to how that game gets played. They somehow, it always ends up being a tight game. It could be an ugly game.
It does seem like it.
Yeah, it's really weird. TCU and Oklahoma will play each other on Friday at 11. Iowa at Nebraska also at 11 on Friday. Then you've got Miami at Boston College on Friday, Memphis at Temple, Toledo at Central Michigan, Ohio. These are a lot of games on Friday.
There is. For the holiday week,
a lot more than I was. I wasn't expecting this many games on Friday. I knew there was some games. I didn't expect this many. Then you get into, let's see, 2:30 UTSA. Yep, 2:30 UTSA Tulane play each other. Then you also at 3:00. This is the CBS 3:00 game that the SEC has, and that's Missouri at Arkansas. And then at night, 6:30, Texas Tech at Texas. Also at 6:30, you have Penn State at Michigan State, and then to cap off Friday is Oregon State at Oregon.
Oregon State at Oregon, and correct. So those are Friday games.
That's this actually week, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them on Friday this week for the holiday weekend.
Right.
Michigan and Ohio State is at 11 o'clock on Saturday, 11 a.m. or noon if you're Eastern time.
Yeah, big noon kickoff. That'll be the big noon kickoff.
The noon kickoff. Yeah. So
And then Kentucky, Louisville,
yeah,
and
Kentucky,
Texas
Louisville.
A&M, LSU. That one will be probably. I think that'll be more entertaining as well. You've got the big offense versus the big defense. New coaching change inspired players for Texas A&M going to Death Valley and seeing what Jaden Daniels can do. Bit of a revenge game for LSU from last year.
Florida
Yep.
State is 6 or Central Time on Saturday night. Clemson, South Carolina, which South Carolina is trying to get bowl eligible now.
The Iron Bowl is the CBS 2:30 game with Alabama visiting Auburn. So and then you've got Arizona at Arizona State. I think that one might also be a little bit of an entertaining game. Probably a lot of high offense, maybe not a whole lot of defense in that one. I'm trying to look and see if there's anything else that might be really entertaining to
Botkin
look
says
at.
Missouri and Iowa both win. Iowa's going to face the winner of Ohio State, Michigan. Yeah, Botkins. Nick, I said that at the beginning. Iowa has already clinched their spot in the Big Ten championship game. So they're looking to, they'll be playing the winner of Ohio State and Michigan.
Yep. Vodtech at Virginia, 2:30 on the ACC network. That one right there would be something that I think would be worth watching. Washington State at Washington. I know Washington State had a lot of games kind of in the middle of the season where they looked like they were going to lose, that they were losing a few of them, but they had a pretty big
They lost like 5 or 6 in a row.
Right, but they had a pretty good get right game this past weekend. So
yeah,
but they're traveling to Washington, which that means, I would be leaning more of Washington State keeping inside a number or maybe
I think I
possibly
seen
with the outright up.
The number started out at 15.5.
It's still 15.5 right now.
Wrong.
Yeah, it's 15.5 right
15
now.
and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville State will play at New Mexico State. So team that just beat Auburn, and then a 8-3, 6-1 Conference USA. Jacksonville State will travel to a 9-3, 6-1 New Mexico State. That one would be pretty entertaining as well. As you said, Florida State. That one's always going to be entertaining.
Right.
Yep. I think you've already kind of gone through these. North Carolina at NC State. I think that one would be worth watching. Kansas State, Iowa State. I think that one's got a lot of Big 12 implications, right?
It does.
Winner of that one. Winner of that one should be playing for the championship.
Yeah.
With the possibility, as long as Texas wins, then they'd be playing Texas.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's our look ahead for week 13, guys, which is the last regular season week of the 2023 season, by the way. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty. There's one more week to go in the regular season, and then we'll have the championship week with all the conference champion games, and we'll have that to look forward to. And then, of course, we'll have the bowl season starting in December, and we will go through every bowl like we did last year and do some pick'ems and talk about each bowl as they go through. And as the games are being played, we'll hit the games for that week and talk about them. And that's kind of what we did last year. That's kind of what we'll do this year as well. I will tell you that this coming week, we are going to do a Big Fuss show and Game Day Pick'em combo show on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. We will be off on Thursday for Thanksgiving. We will not be doing a show on Thursday night. We want to wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving, and go eat and be merry and have fun with your family. And we want to wish everyone here a happy Thanksgiving. So, John, you got big plans for Thanksgiving?
Just hanging out with the fam. How about you?
Me too. I'm going to go to my dad's, and we always watch football and have a little thing at my dad's on Thanksgiving. So eat, probably have me some pumpkin pie, maybe some pecan pie throughout the day. Dressing, turkey, all the good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, all the mainstays. Yeah. But my two favorite desserts is some pumpkin pie and pecan pie. So I'll probably have a little bit of that too. So, but we want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving this week. We will do a kind of a combined show. We'll do a shortened version of the Big Fuss. We might bring up 2 or 3 topics, and then we'll do a game day pick'em show on Tuesday, where we still try to pick at least 6 or 8 games, and just do a combined show on Tuesday night this week, so we can all enjoy Thanksgiving ourselves. So again, happy Thanksgiving. This has been week 12 of College SportsCast, the weekend wrap-up show. Y'all have a good night.